Hey everybody, Tony Lee Glenn here, and I'm here to talk today about this new camera that I got in the GoPro Hero 3, and I bought the black edition. First of all, let me say I am not an extreme guy. I'm not a helmet cam guy. Somebody's going to go like doing bicycles and surfing and skateboarding and things like that, and that's what this, clearly this camera is marketed to be. If you go to their website, they're going to show you a lot of really cool whiz-bang, awesome video stuff like that. Flying from ultralight airplanes and surfers and all kinds of extreme sport guys doing their thing. I'm here to tell you this little camera has more to offer than just that. And I'm going to give you my pros and cons. There are some pros and cons. First of all, I'm not doing this review on a Hero 3. I'm using a Canon HFS 200 because I want to be able to show you this is the only one I've got. And if you want to see examples of some of the things I talk about, my channel's full of them. Just Tony Lee Glenn, and you start looking up Hero 3 on my channel, and you'll see a lot of the things I talk about as I review this little camera. First of all, this is as big as it is. It's small, and it's kind of a backpack structure. This is the first one of these I've had. I went with the black edition because it does so many frame rates and so many great field of view stuff. And it also does, this thing will do a 4K at 12 frames per second. But you can do like 1080p at 60 frames a second. You can do 720p at 120 frames a second. You can do standard definition like NTSC video at 240 freaking frames a second. And that's awesome, it's fast. This thing is just tiny, it's no bigger than that. So it's like not much bigger than a Matchbox, very thin. There's a little cover, usually it's on here, I have it off now so you can see you got an HDMI coming out. I don't use that HDMI, I could. You can hook it up to a television if you like. But you can power it here, you can charge it, you charge your battery. The battery goes on here in the back, it's got a little door where it pulls open here. You can pull a little cover off and just pull the battery out. The batteries don't last a long time. There's no view, so you see there's no viewer on it. You just point the thing, you walk around and you shoot. So your accessories, if you buy them, come in little boxes like this to protect them. So here is the viewfinder for this, and I bought it because I wanted to be able to see what I'm shooting. I didn't realize though how, in some ways, I don't know that you absolutely need this, but I'm going to show you what, it has a little hook on it back here. You just do that right there. These things plug on. When you power them up, you just push this button and hold it. It makes the 3 count, and then you're on. And if you want to see there's the how the little thing looks. This thing does eat batteries up. I'd say you get probably a third less battery time when you're using this, but it is cool. I can see in some situations where you'd want to have that. I'll be honest, the field of view is so wide and all that if you're just going around even without, first of all, I should say that too, when you hold to turn it off, you hold this down and hold it in again, it'll go beep 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 7 times, and then you know that you've turned off. So these things, they pull off real easy. You just pull it like that. It unplugs. The thing I did buy, another accessory I bought, was the battery pack, an extra battery pack. Now you can buy the extra batteries that go in here. You can get a third-party ones, and they're pretty cheap. You can get 2 for like 20 bucks with a charger. And you can buy these little things here if you want to switch these out, or you can buy these packs. They're more expensive. They're about 20 bucks a piece. And they hook in just the same as the other one does. A little hook thing there on the back, hook it in like so. Plugs right up, and you've probably doubled at least your battery power there. So I actually shoot most of the time with that on there and not even viewing. I just know because this thing has such a wide field of view that I'm getting some good video. So let me go through the pros and cons of this and what I really like about it. First of all, the video is very good. Not great low light video, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but very sharp video, interesting frame rates. If you're shooting it in 1080p and you've been shooting at 30 frames a second, you'll notice that when you're editing, you got some blur. If you can't slow it down a whole lot without some blur, go to 48 frames a second with this, no problem. Go to 60 frames a second, 1080p, looks great. It has a mode called Pro Tune, which if you've ever done, let's say photos, and you've used Camera Raw, then you know what the advantages of Camera Raw are. A whole lot more dynamic range if you shoot in Camera Raw than if you shoot just a JPEG out of your camera. Well, that's what Pro Tune is for this. It's almost like Camera Raw for a camera. So you got a very wide range of stuff that you can do. You can change your contrast, you can change your midtones, you can bring stuff out of shadows that you didn't know was there. You can do great color saturation type things, brightness, contrast in Premiere. I use Adobe Premiere CS6. Looks great when you're doing the edits and stuff with this. Caution. When you go to edit with a piece of Pro Tune video, it is probably a third again bigger than your other video you're shooting. Your MPEG 4s look great out of this if you shoot in Pro Tune mode. Your software, I don't care if you've got a Xeon monster computer, which I do have here at work. At home I'm using a Core i5 with about 12 gigs of RAM, and it sputters and it just barely can handle the video at all. Hard to scrub through it. The only way I know to do if you want to shoot in ProTune and want to be smooth editing is maybe create you a proxy file, make you like a, I don't know, a 10 megasecond 1080p proxy, edit that one so your camera can scrub through it, and then go back. I'm particularly when talking about high frame rates. Let's say you're shooting in ProTune mode, which is like a camera raw, of course, big file, and say you're doing 60 frames a second, 1080p. Hey, your computer just can't hardly handle it. I don't know any computer that probably could. You can stop and you can go through and you can make your adjustments, but you can't really see in real time what your video is going to look like till you render it out. So that is kind of a con with this until the computers catch up from processing power, but still this thing shoots great video, and ProTune does allow you to get some very subtle, do some very cool subtle changes. You might try that proxy type method I just described though. But I got to tell you, they look pretty good. The videos do in just standard MPEG-4, and you're not going to be like, you know, put off by what you get doing that. The other thing I like about it, versatile. I mean, this thing can be mounted to anything, and it comes with a number of mounts. You know, in the black edition, there's things where you can mount it to a helmet if you want to. I'll show you what I did. Here's one weakness. This is the kind of thing that you've got, and you have these little plastic mounts that you can glue onto something, and then you slide this into it. I'll give you an example. The thing did not come with anything that you can mount to a tripod. I actually have a handle here, and I use a mic stand. This is like a mic handle, and I just mounted one of these things. As you can see, they just glue on there, and you can unloosen them by putting a hair dryer to it and loosen that glue up. But these things hold super tight, man. They're not going to come off. I just mounted it to a piece of wood and started screwing this handle into the bottom, and I can stick it on a mic stand or whatever else. I'm going to actually put this in a big like golf ball retriever and take it and hard to describe what I'm going to do, but I've done it in the past. If you look at some of my videos, you'll see you can actually put this on a golf ball retriever with some foam around it, and you can put this thing out on a 15-foot pole and swing it around over cliffs and things, and I like to do that. But this is how these things work. They have this little thing on the bottom of it here, you can see, little plastic doohickey, and it slides into this, and so that's how you mount your GoPro onto something. It only comes with a couple of these, one that's curved for like going on top of a helmet, one that's flat. I wish they had given you a mount. You can get a third-party one or through GoPro, one that does allow you to go onto a tripod, because you're not going to be able to mount this thing onto a tripod. See, since I'm not doing extreme things, I actually want to use it for shooting interviews, for shooting like scenes in Linville Gorge, a lot of wilderness type stuff, birds. Man, I like to use it for just standard things, and I believe this camcorder could be used for so many things. What I'm showing you here, this is the housing that comes with it, and this is underwater. The one I've got on here, the back door I've got, is a wider back door. It comes with these if you buy some of these accessories. The one that comes with it is narrow, and you couldn't put one with the battery on in it, but I have switched the doors out, and they're easy to switch out. Got a little catch here on the top, that you just kind of push in, pull back, it opens up. Right. There we go, it's sealed pretty tight. And then you can actually put the camera in there like that and close it up. And there you go. And so I've shot underwater video. Look on my channel at some underwater workouts that I do. I've done some underwater exercise. I like to do muscle toning underwater, and this thing does great. What I did, I took one of the other mounts and mounted it to a weight that I could dunk down under the water. I could tie it to like a diving platform, and then I could let the GoPro dangle underwater, sitting on top of a weight, and I could shoot the underwater video. One of the awesome things I've talked about already is frame rate. I mean, like I say, it is so cool to be able to go into standard at 240 frames a second. I've got one video where I'm shooting a tangerine with a pellet gun, and you just watch that tangerine, you know, it's just awesome. The one thing I'll say, if you're shooting high frame rates and you're shooting it under fluorescent lights, you're going to get some flutter, because you're shooting the frame so fast that the refresh rates on fluorescent lights will make it look like you're fluttering and getting terrible video. But go outside and shoot the same sort of video, and you'll see it looks fantastic. So I've been shooting birds in flight on my wife's bird feeder as they come flying in. You can put that camera about a foot away from a bird feeder, and you wouldn't think you could get, the field of view is so wide either way that you can go up to a foot away, and you can get, you know, good gosh, 10, 12 feet of video as the birds approach the bird feeder, and you can catch them just in very slow flight like that. I can't wait to try to get a Hummingbird with one. I put some Hummingbird video on recently with just that 30 frames a second, and you slow it down, you still can't see the bird. You can't even come close to seeing the bird's wings. I'm betting at 240 frames a second you'll be able to catch a Hummingbird's wings as it moves. Pretty darn cool. So the frame rates are amazing. Field of view is awesome. You've got wide, you've got medium and narrow. Even the narrow is much wider than what you're seeing here with this Canon. That's the one thing I think is a downside to, you know, I love my Canon camcorders. And they shoot very superior video, I think, probably superior to this. However, the field of view is so narrow, you don't catch much of your world. With these, you can just walk around this point and you know you're going to be getting what you're shooting at. You'll see what I mean if you buy one of them. Like I say, you'd think that you'd need that viewfinder on the back all the time. If you're just holding that sucker and walking around with it, you are getting whatever you're pointed at, plus a whole lot more to either side. Matter of fact, if you want to get detail, you really want to get in kind of close with it. And I'm saying you can shoot probably 9-10 inches away from anything. I shot some video of my pug right up in its face, and it's very cute the way that you can get in really tight with it, and it focuses in really well. The versatility, frame rates, field of view, video quality, all those things are things that I think are pluses. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cons as I open this up and take it out again. I would say your first con about this when you get it, and you're going to see what I mean, is unpacking it is crazy hard. and you'll have a hard time figuring out exactly what you're doing when you're unpacking it. I could do a whole video on that. I'm not going to. Just realize you're going to have to unscrew some things. It's going to be packed in there very tight, but it is secure for shipping. But you're going to have you're going to fuss and cuss probably as you're just unpacking it from the materials that it comes with. You know, I would say this is a con, but not necessarily. Just for people that are big, this is your media, not this. You'd think this is. This is the adapter it comes in. This little part right here is what you're shooting on. I'm going to pull that out. I guess if you're used to doing this with cell phones and stuff, for me that's kind of hard to get out. But that is that's a 32 gig. I bought. It's hard to get it to focus on that, isn't it? Are you seeing that? So that's a 32 gig class 10. What are these things called? A 32 gig ultra. And so that's the kind of media you're going to be shooting on, and it's a micro SD SDHC, and so these things could be very easily lost, and they are kind of easily lost if you're just picking up and laying down a lot. But you have to put those inside this, and when you go into your computer, and so they offload from a adapter. Not necessarily a downside. It's very small media. It's very fast, but it is hard to deal with if you're a big finger type person. One of the things you're going to see some feedback online on is the menus, the way you get around and navigate on this. I'm sure there are videos out there. Maybe I'll do a separate video. As I said earlier, you hold it down, beeps 3 times, and your menus stuff starts coming up. Now it says there's no SD in there. Of course there's not. I've been offloading some other video. So I just put a 64 gig SD card in there, and now you can see that you got all these different little. Right now I'm in 1080p, 48 frames a second. And protein off, and I'm in wide view, and you can see all those things on there. It tells you all that. The navigation of this stuff is kind of bizarre. It's going to take you a while to get a hold of it. It's really not that hard. You'll take you probably half a day to actually figure out all the different things you want to be able to get into. And you got 2 buttons. You got this one in the front and this one at the top. Basically, you navigate through menus and stuff by clicking this one. And that should put me in photo mode. I can shoot pictures with it, up to 12 megs photos, 12 megapixel. And you know, I've got time lapses and various different things that you can function through. And to get out of this edit mode, you have to swing all the way back around to whatever you're going to do. Like that's where your settings are. It's got a little wrench there. If I want to go in, for instance, and change any of that, then you click the top button. And it goes in, it allows me to start editing things. Like right there, it's 1080p 48. Now if I wanted to go in and change that, I click the red button on top again, and it'll take me into something where I can change that, whether I want to change frame rate, whether I want to change field of view. All those different things are all in there. So it's going to take a little while for to get used to editing this. One advantage to having that back, the little display on the back, the little viewer, is it is touch sensitive, and you can touch through a lot of these things, and it's easier than doing it this way. But I have gotten the hang of doing it from these buttons, and it's probably faster without you having to switch off the backs and stuff. But initially you might want to do your settings with the viewer if you're going to buy that, and it's not that expensive an option to get it, and you can sit there and press a lot of different things. So that would make it easier in the beginning, I think, initially doing this. Okay, now one thing I do think is a bit of a negative is the sound quality is not great on these things, and they weren't great from what I've read on the earlier versions either. But one thing I've noticed, like say I'm shooting at 1080p, 60 frames a second, I actually hear little clicks in the audio that aren't there. It's a tiny little click, 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 click. I have no idea why it's doing that. I do have the latest firmware and everything on here. I don't know if it's just mine, but I wonder if other people are getting that. The audio integrity is not great, but I will say that this Canon I'm using here, about $1,000 camcorder when I first bought it, you know, the audio is great or good, but I wouldn't say great. Always, if you're going to do audio, I like to use another mic up front. I like to use a Zoom H2 or something. So there are, you know, you're not going to get the best audio off of a camcorder anyway. The video you get makes up for the audio that you don't get, believe me. I did mention that it does 12 megapixel photos. Not the greatest photos in the world either. I'm here to tell you, not bad, not terrible. You could certainly use them. As a person who does calendar work and does, you know, professional print design, I'm here to tell you this is not going to take the place of a nice DSLR. If you got like a Nikon D5100 or, you know, a nice Sony camera or a nice Canon, you're not going to take the place of it with this. That said, you can shoot in good light some great pictures with this. I wouldn't say that this is going to be your primary photo camera. I will also say in low light situations. Now I'm getting ready to put some demos out online to show how the low light works. Once again, not terrible. I mean, most camcorders don't shoot that great in low light. You know, I would say it's okay. It's moderate as far as I'm concerned. It's not quite what I was expecting. It had been painted to be a little better in low light than what I'm getting. I've tried about everything. Color accuracy is not great. It's sort of yellowish at night. I've walked through well-lit towns at night. I wouldn't say that this is a great night cam, but once again, not bad. Don't think I'm ragging on this camera. This is a great camera, but just be aware that, you know, you got to be realistic about what you're shooting at nighttime with this. I did mention that battery life is not fantastic, but I'm guessing with this configuration I got here with the battery pack on the back, I could definitely get an hour and 15 minutes or so out of shooting out of this. I think some of that is going to depend, of course, on, you know, what frame rate you're shooting at, you know, what frame size you're shooting at. Definitely it's going to suck more power if you do have the video thing on the back. But once again, as I did say, you can find third-party on Amazon.com, or you go to GoPro and buy their batteries. I'm finding that there are some good battery options on Amazon, and you can go there and look and see. Let's look for replacement batteries, and you can get a 2-pack for around 20 bucks. And I'm going to be doing a review on those batteries and the life that they get compared to the GoPro battery here in just about a week or so. It would be kind of cool if they'd actually put a slot here on the back of the battery so that you could piggyback 2 of these things, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? I know you're getting kind of thick at that point, but what if you could put that screen on the back of this battery, and then you've actually eliminated the problem you have with this thing sucking battery juice. But that's not an option. So I kind of think that's a bit of a weakness, but once again, I'm not going to lose many points with me on that matter, because like I say, this little video screen here, I can take it or leave it now. I'm getting pretty used to shooting without it, and it's not something that's going to inhibit my style out in the field. So I saved what I think is the worst problem with this camcorder for last. And once again, this is something, I don't know if it's just an anomaly that I'm dealing with or if other people are dealing with this too, but I'll tell you something that happens to me a lot. When I'm shooting, let's say I'm shooting 1080p, 60 frames a second, and I turn this camera on to shoot that video. I'm going to see if I can emulate it. All right, and I start recording. Right now I am recording 1080p video. Let's see if this works or doesn't. Okay, excellent. This time it did not do it. I'm going to tell you what happens to me sometimes. It's happened to me at least a dozen times so far. Let's stop recording. Probably at least a dozen times I have turned the camcorder on, okay, 1080p, 60 frames per second, and then started recording, and within about 5 seconds it stops recording, just stops. I have no idea why. But now when you press the red button again on top, it starts recording and it keeps on going for as long as you want to record. But this will happen. And listen, it's bad. Because what can happen, you can be catching that very something you want to catch right then on the moment, spur of the moment, and you think you've got it, and it turns off on you. and you got to start it back up again. Once you start it, it doesn't go off. But very often, I won't say very often, I'm going to guess probably at least a dozen times since I've been out shooting with this for 2 weeks, it will fake me out. I will think I'm shooting, I'm recording video, and I realize all of a sudden that I'm not. Now the light on the back here does blink when you record, so you just have to keep your eye out for that. And listen, you might listen and you'll hear it audibly stop recording. It'll make a beep beep sound. But just keep your eye, hear it anymore. I let it go. It usually happens within 5 seconds. Usually I'll start recording and I'll just actually watch the thing to make sure it makes it past 5 seconds. If it makes it past 5, 6 seconds, then you can turn around and you can be confident you're going to keep on shooting. Okay, so I've gone through the pros and cons of what I know. I've not done time lapses with this yet. I've actually not shot anything in the 4K mode. I have shot in the 2.7, which is awesome. You can shoot 1440p, which basically is like NTSC standard size, like instead of a 16:9, it's like a 4:3. So you're still getting 1920 this way, but you're going 1440 this way instead of 1080. And yes, I wonder why they give us that one, but it's kind of cool. I have to say, you've got a lot of up and down stuff. Let's say you wanted to reframe or something, you could certainly slide your video around in your editor. The video works just great with Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. Love the frame rates, love the fact that you can get in close on things, love the field of view, can't beat it. I would say you could shoot a lot of different things with this, everything from interviews to guitar videos, band stuff, anything where you want to get a wide field of view, nice motion. I mean, one of the things I'll say, the high frame rates, even if you're going out shooting 1080p at 48 frames a second instead of 30 frames a second, it's going to help your video. You're going to get a certain amount of handshake. I do a lot of handheld stuff, and I could do Steadicam or I could do tripod, but honestly I still like to do a whole lot of stuff just walking around. And the fact that I don't have that motion blur anymore at 48 frames a second, it looks great. 60 frames, even better. Your trade-off is the audio. It seems like the higher the frame rate goes, the worse the audio sort of gets, and maybe that's just, once again, also editing with your editing software. It's hard on a computer. You might choose again to shoot just in regular MPEG-4 rather than in the Pro Tune mode, unless you know you want to shoot something that you're going to want to really saturate and work with. I'm going to go shoot in the Linville Gorge, and I probably will shoot in Pro Tune. I'll shoot at a high, at a very large frame, and as high frame rate as I can, just to try to get good motion with the wildlife and the wind blowing through limbs and trees and stuff like that. Very excellent little camera. It is revolutionizing the way I shoot video. I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it about an 8.5 or 9. Is it the do-all end-all? No. Is it much more than a helmet cam? Absolutely. If you're thinking it's just a helmet cam, if you're thinking it's just for crazy radical sports enthusiasts and skydivers and stuff like that, no. This could be used almost for anything. I think you could go shoot a wedding with it, and people would be satisfied with the kind of video that you're getting out of it. GoPro Hero 3. This thing was only like 399 bucks. That's pretty sweet too. Most of the cameras I shoot with much more expensive than that. I'm happy with it, and please go to my site and look at some of the samples of things that I've done, and you'll see how flexible this little camera is.